Ryan Galloway for LowKick MMA here with One Championship Flyweight Grand Prix champion Demetrious Johnson, who is currently in Singapore. How's it going, DJ?
It's going good. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem at all. So let the people know what exactly you're doing in Singapore at the moment. I believe it's you're filming The Apprentice, the One Championship edition. Is that the only reason you're in Singapore at the moment?
That is the only reason why I'm in Singapore. I am getting some training in here at Evolve, but this trip is for One Apprentice.
Absolutely. And what's that like, filming that?
It's been fun. We filmed an episode yesterday, and I believe I'm doing some digital stuff tonight. And from everything I've heard from the contestants and the other episodes, it's going to be a treat to watch.
So what's your role on the show? What are you actually doing on the show?
I was a guest, and that's all I can say.
Okay, can't give us any more?
Can't give you any more. Obviously, it's going to be a fun show for all the fans to watch. Great content, great for television, and I'm excited for it to launch.
Absolutely. And you've been with One for almost 2 years now. I think you debuted at the start of 2019. What's the big differences you found working with One from your time at the UFC?
Well, obviously, so it's run a little bit different. You know, in the UFC, it was mostly based around mixed martial arts. So we're One Championship. They're separated their home of martial arts, where it's just not about MMA. It's kickboxing, Muay Thai, submission wrestling, mixed martial arts, and obviously the Muay Thai is in 4-ounce gloves. There are some Muay Thai fights, very rare you see them in big boxing gloves. That would be the biggest difference, and it displays all art forms.
Right. And in your experience with the fights you've had, how have the fighters you've faced compared to the caliber of opponent you were facing in the UFC? Is there any big changes in terms of like stylistic, like how the opponents have been?
I would say it's the styles, and I went out to dinner last night, and one of the things that somebody brought to my attention was saying that the talent pool over here is a little bit different, right? So the way they explained to me is that the average, Asian in Asia is, maybe 5'4", 145 pounds. Where in America, the average male is about 5'10", 170 or 6'1", 170. So you're gonna have a lot more talent over here in Asia than you will in America. There's great talent in North America, but I feel with fighting Yuya Wakamatsu, Tatsumi Tawada, and Danny Kingdad, these guys come from a great background of Pancrase and Shuto, which produce some world-class killers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in your debut, you had a little bit of adversity in that fight, and you fought through it and got this beautiful submission victory. And then since then, you've had 2 more fights. And so now, after winning the Grand Prix, what's next for you? Is it going to be a title shot? Do you think that's next?
That is next against Adriano Moraes. We haven't locked down a date yet, but that's what's on the list. Hopefully, fingers crossed, COVID is under the rug and not shutting down international traveling. So that's what is next.
Absolutely. And so this break you've had during all this COVID and stuff, not being able to fight, have you been preparing strictly for Moraes, or has it just been training in general?
Just been training in general. Just because you never know when the fight's going to happen, and you don't want to burn yourself out. You see a lot of athletes, they focus on one person, and if they get to continue to be a better athlete every single day and work on their skill set, instead of they'll just like go down a rabbit hole, just think about this one athlete they're about to fight, and they forget about, keep on getting better.
Absolutely. And so how do you think you stack up against him stylistically? Have you thought about that at all, or not until the fight's booked you'll look into it?
Yeah, obviously the fight was booked previously, so we've already looked into it, and it's going to be a great matchup. I think I have a set of skills that will be able to fare well with his. He's a bigger athlete, height-wise, great, phenomenal grappler. So I'm trying to go out there and do my best, like I do with all my fights, and see what happens.
Absolutely. And so, like you said before, One, they have a lot of like different things other than just MMA, like they have their gaming as well, which in this time off, I imagine you've been doing a lot of gaming yourself. How's that been? I know you signed with Method again, and so you're doing a lot of gaming stuff for them. Having this little break, has it helped you do a bit more in your gaming side of your career and put the martial arts aside for a little bit? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Re-signing with Method was a very, very big thing for my gaming career. Method is, top notch when it comes to obviously World of Warcraft and striving for world first. And also for me, signing with Method, being a content creator, them giving me the eyes to help, build my streaming career and also different avenues, my YouTube career. Actually, before I jumped on here, I just got a new YouTube video I have to go over and review. So it's keeping me busy. It's always pulling me different realms. And I know gaming is going to be something I'm going to be doing after I'm done fighting. So I want to make sure I have, the skill set and building my brand now, which I've been doing for a very long time in the gaming space. And I've been loving it. We got the PlayStation 5, been playing Demon Souls. We're playing World of Warcraft Shadowlands, just working on my fishing and all other stuff. So staying busy while I'm in quarantine in Singapore.
How hard was it for you to get a hold of the PS5? Did you have to wait in lines or anything? Or
I didn't. My buddy, one of my guildies, he was able to snatch one off Target.com and be able to get it to me. And I got it the next day, so it was awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. I want to ask you about a title that you held for the longest time, which was the UFC Flyweight title. A title fight happened last weekend between Deiveson Figueiredo and Alex Perez. Did you see the fight, and what did you think of Figueiredo's performance?
Yeah, I did see that, and it was a phenomenal performance by Figueiredo. Obviously, I feel he was skillfully. Sorry,
that's all right.
He was more skillful, obviously, and I think he's a big for that weight class. I think Alex Perez did a great job, and he just got caught. I mean, it was one of the things where it comes to mixed martial arts, you just get caught. I felt he just made a mistake, and he left his posture down, and he left his head in down here like that, and Figueiredo did a good job and capitalizing on it and sticking that guillotine in.
Yeah, for sure. And so Figueiredo, I think he's competed 3 times this year. How would you rate that performance against the 2 fights he had with Benavidez?
Oh, different. It's obviously different performances. Joseph Benavidez was doing a good job the first fight, and then that headbutt happened, and he ended up dropping him. And then the second fight, I knew Joseph wasn't able to get to him in the first fight, so I knew the second fight was just going to go the same way the first one did. And all 3 of those fights they're all finishes essentially. So if you have to rank, it'll be 10 out of 10. He hasn't messed up, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Do you think his career will have the same longevity as champion as you did when you were the champion, or?
It all depends. It all depends who he fights. It all depends surgeries. It all depends on drug testing. It all depends on can he make weight. All that stuff plays a factor into it. You know what I mean? And who knows? He might blow through everybody, and everybody can say he didn't have any competition. You just never know. But all we can do is sit here and watch and hope for the best, I guess.
As a competitor, is that a fight that would ever interest you? I know that cross promotion is not really something the UFC does, but if you were offered that fight, would that interest you at all? And how do you think it would go?
Yeah, I don't. For when people ask me that, it's funny you ask that. Somebody today asked me, "What's your dream matchup?" I was like, "Don't really have a dream matchup. I just don't think that way, right?" And for me, when you ask me that question, it doesn't really resonate with me, I guess you can say. For me, I'm a type of athlete where it's like, if I see somebody who's got great skill set, I'm okay. I would admire their skill set. Like, he's got great skill set. If I was to fight him, I think the fight would be obviously tough, just like any other fight would be.
Right.
But it's not something that I'm jumping a bit to do. I don't know if that I'm answering that question for you. The only athlete that I'm concerned about fighting right now is Adriano Moraes, because that is my next fight. And then after that, then it'll be whoever the next one is. That's how I've always taken my career. Even when I was a champion, they were like, "What do you think of this athlete?" I'm like, "He's a good athlete." And I'm sure if I fought him, it'd be a good fight. But other than that, and it's always funny because I get way more excited for new games that are coming out than if I see an athlete. Like, who do you think will win? And I'm like, that's just the person I am. I've been doing it for so long where it's like, you're going to see so many new athletes coming up, but nothing to discredit him at all. He's a phenomenal athlete.
Absolutely. And so your target is to get the flyweight title in 1 and defend it as much as you can. If you manage to go on a streak like you did in the UFC and defend it 12 times, do you think that puts you like at the top of the GOAT conversation? I know this is a topic that's come up a lot lately. What would you have to do, in your opinion, to end up at the top of the GOAT talk?
Just keep on fighting, winning, obviously. And that's up for the public. I told someone the other day, that whole GOAT discussion is all about public. The only person I've actually seen who kind of fights for that spot or argues about it is John Jones.
Yeah.
Habib mentioned that he wanted to be there, but at any given time in my whole career, I've never asked to be in that position. People put me in that position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think it's more important is when people put you there. You can't walk in there like, I'm the greatest of all time in this sport of mixed martial arts. You can't just do that. You have to let the community to decide. Obviously, my merits that I've done in my 11 consecutive title defenses, the submissions I've done, the different styles I fight. Granted, I can sit there and argue with people, but I ain't got time to argue. If you think I'm the greatest of all time, thanks. If not, I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna shed one tear about it, right? But if people, my kids, when they get older, they're like, Dad, how good were you? I'm like, well, I was one of the greatest to ever do it. And then they're like, well, who else was great? I'm like, well, John Jones, GSP. I could just rally off a list of Khabib Nurmagomedov. I could just rally off a list of names that we were all great. We all shine in our own different aspects of martial arts, but I can't sit here and pinpoint who was great. If I was to sit here and pinpoint one, I'll be John Jones. And then they'll look up John Jones. I'm like, well, John Jones had all that shit. And I'm like, well, that's your opinion, son. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's always great fighters, not always specifically one greatest fighter. And so as far as great fighters go, I want to ask you about a matchup that's happening this weekend in boxing between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Is that something you're going to be watching?
Oh, shit. I don't know if I can. I'm stuck in a hotel room, so probably not. But I will be, trying to catch it eventually. But, yeah, I'm excited for that fight. I hope nothing for the best of those guys. I hope nobody gets injured really bad. Yeah,
and if you had to pick a winner in that one, who would you take?
I have no idea. I'll take Mike Tyson. I'll go with Mike Tyson on this one.
It's hard to pick against him, isn't it? Being the legend he is. So.
Well, Roy Jones Jr. is a legend too, but I mean, we're just going to have to see. I just feel Mike has the power.
Yeah, fair enough. That's pretty much all I've got. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me. Is there anything else you want to let the public know before we end it here?
Just make sure you guys catch One Apprentice.
That's it. Everyone catch the One Apprentice. Thanks for taking time to speak to me, DJ, and all the best.
Thank you, buddy.